Hello, everybody, and welcome to the 10-Minute Book Talk. I'm Katherine Reay, and I'm here with my co-hosts, Rachel Linden and Marie Bostwick. And today we have the treat to host Madeline Martin, New York Times bestselling novelist, and her latest book, The Keeper of Hidden Books. Really an extraordinary story. And Madeline, thank you so much for being here today, and you're in your car. So, thank you so much for pulling off the road and sharing a moment with us. We appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me. Yeah, and for those of you who are tuning in, I was just kind of finishing the last part of the southern part of my book tour and was driving home, but I have bad time zone math and forgot I was in Alabama coming home to Florida. So I didn't get home in time to do this. So I'm coming at you from my car.
Lighting it.
Great, so it works out well.
Exactly. So Madeline, tell us a little about your book. We'll start there.
So The Keeper of Hidden Books was actually inspired by the true events of the Warsaw's public librarians during World War II, and their amazing efforts to do what they could to not only preserve books from being looted and destroyed by Nazis, but also opening up hidden libraries during the Nazi occupation when all of the libraries were closed, and still being able to bring books to people in dark times, despite being told that they weren't allowed to.
Oh my goodness. And who doesn't
Brilliant.
love heroism and books in times of conflict? So how in the world did you get inspired to write this story? How did you stumble across this?
So I confess, I actually was like halfway done writing the book because I had also been inspired by secret libraries within the ghetto as well. People who had their individual books and they would bring them and they would pass them around by carrying them via suitcase. And also a woman who had created a children's orphanage, but really it was a secret children's library with like rotating shelves that would like have, a dollhouse on one side and flip it around and it would be books on the other side. So it was dual POV. I had like half the book written, but I was still doing research. And that's when I found about the librarians. And I thought, okay, I have to redo this entire book. So I threw everything away, even though the book was almost due. I had to ask for an extension and completely start over from 2 POVs to 1 POV and redo everything.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, but it was absolutely worth it for two reasons. One, it really encompassed exactly everything that I had wanted to encompass with this particular book. It was like, like when you're writing a book and you're still looking for research and you're looking for that one thing that's like really just going to make it like, yes, this is what I was looking for. This is what brings it together. That's what happened in this case. But also when I asked for an extension, which I know we're not supposed to do, but I got a 1-month extension, which took the release date from the 4th of July to August 1st. And August 1st is the anniversary of the Warsaw Uprising, which was when they finally got to fight back against the Nazi occupiers. And to this day in Warsaw at 5 p.m., which is considered W hour on August 1st, the entire city goes completely silent except for all of the alarms and sirens blaring in honor of the men and women who were so brave as to try to reclaim Warsaw during that day.
Oh, I've got
chills.
chills.
So it really ended up working out so incredibly well. One, because I had the time to finish the book, and two, for it to be on that serendipitous launch day, it really humbled me.
Wow.
It's amazing.
Sounds like it was definitely meant to be. So,
Yeah.
but I just wanted to say something. So for the civilians who are watching us, who are not writers, POV means point of view. So when she talked about POV, she was saying she switched from one point of view to 2 characters with 2 points of view, right?
Yeah. Well, it was the opposite. I was
I'm sorry.
2 to 1.
2 main characters.
Two main characters to one main character. So that's what that means. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So speaking of characters, in this book, you have the important characters. It's based on 2 very best friends who are really close to each other, as close as like a sister relationship almost, except one of them is Jewish and one of them is Gentile. So what did you really want to explore by choosing that particular dynamic in this story?
Well, I really wanted to still demonstrate the struggles that happened within the Jewish culture and the Jewish population in Warsaw. And I really felt like, I couldn't explore that if I just strictly had a Polish character. I wanted her to have that love and that association for her best friend and have like have her have to watch her go through what she went through and experience that helplessness of not being able to do anything, being just one person while everybody else was looking away. And so that was incredibly important to me. And, you know, with Yanina and Zofia, they were originally going to be the two characters that I was going to be writing about, one person's POV and then the other, because I also wanted to showcase, you know, the life within the ghetto where they did have those libraries that were going on. But I was able to still do a slightly epistolary sort of aspect of this book that still was able to encompass that particular time in Yanina's life, because it really was something that I felt was very important to be able to convey. And, you know, there are some instances that are sort of mentioned in those letters back and forth to one another that were inspired by real life events that I actually did read about, some of them being very heartwarming events. And so that was something I definitely wanted to make sure to incorporate in the book. But that relationship, that friendship between the two women was so incredibly important.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, you show within this novel the power of books over and over in individual lives, but also, you know, protecting books writ large during a time when they were being burned, et cetera, banned, burned, everything else. And you strike upon, I mean, honestly, some of your prose is so beautiful when talking about the power of literature. And I'd love for you to just share a little about that, you know, what you want readers to take away from that, or even what you want them to kind of enjoy about literature through your story.
You know, I like, while I was writing this book, you know, one of the most difficult things to really wrap my brain around was the fact that Zofia, you know, in Poland, they had centuries that they were constantly trying to get their freedom. They'd been occupied by Russia for over 120 years prior to getting their independence after the Treaty of Versailles in 1918, after the Great War. They had just celebrated 20 years of independence when the Nazis came in. So my character was born in this kind of pocket of freedom, and her entire freedom was stripped away. And it's easy to think like, oh, I can imagine what that's like. But when you really take a step back and you really try to imagine what that's like, it's almost like trying to imagine something in the fourth dimension, because it's so the opposite of what we've all known our entire lives. And especially when it comes to books, to think about books and authors being banned and not having access to those, and what that really could strip away. But also, when you look at the books that actually were banned, what was it that they were being banned for? And ultimately, those books that were being banned then, and honestly even now, are books that open up this spot of empathy in us for people who we are not. It gives a face to people who we've never walked in their shoes. It helps us understand where they're coming from. And I feel like it really promotes like this open-mindedness of the heart and of the mind. And it really creates love among mankind. And I really genuinely think that when Hitler was banning a lot of those books, he was trying to keep certain people faceless and nameless to make them more easily persecuted against. And so I think it's so important for people to be able to protect literature and for people to read literature and to let that just sink into their hearts and minds and let it really expand so that we can all love one another. And because really, when you take away that love in its absence, we have hate. And that's the last thing that this world needs.
Yeah.
Well said.
It's an incredibly powerful book.
Thank
Now,
you.
before we let you go, though, we have one question we ask everybody. What is bringing you joy today?
Well, I am just coming back from, I think, 6 days on the road. I'll be home in about 45 minutes, and I'll get to see my husband and my kids and my cats. And that is definitely bringing me joy, in addition to speaking to you ladies today.
That's fabulous. And it looks like you've got a sunny day for the drive, which is good too.
Yes. It's Florida. It's always sunny. I love it.
Always sunny. Well, Madeline, please, would you put up your bookmark again? Because I'm traveling too. I don't have your book with me, and I want everyone to see the cover. Okay, everybody, this is The Keeper of Hidden Books, just released August 1st. Fabulous book. Check it out. And Madeline, thank you so much for spending this moment with us on the 10-Minute Book Talk. And everybody come back next week for another author interview. Thank you so much.
Absolutely my pleasure. Thank you.
Thanks. Bye-bye.